Here we go. Hello, welcome back. Jeff Drozdowski, DrozdTalks.com. Very excited to be in New York City today to interview a friend, a colleague, a high school colleague or classmate of mine, and a very successful person that I wanted to come out to New York and talk to you about leadership, about many other things. He is, most people out here listening know or have heard of Vibe Magazine, and this is the creator, the founder of Vibe Magazine, along with the rest of his empire that we'll be talking about here at some point or another. But ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome Len Burnett. Lenny, how you doing?
Great, good. Lenny to you.
Lenny to me.
Right.
Yes.
Always Lenny.
Yes, that's right. So, things are good?
Things are good, man. Been out here in New York since college. Had a great time, built a nice base for community and friends. One thing I want to say, so I didn't create Vibe, just for the record. That was Quincy Jones.
You could have played that. I was going to get Quincy in here at some point, or not literally. He wasn't going to come in the door. But
it was Quincy's idea, and I was blessed enough to be part of the team. There was a team of us that came and launched it, including my good friend Keith Clinkscales back in 1993. But you can call me the creator anytime you want. So yeah.
Excellent. So before we get into the business part, I want people to know about you, because I find Lenny fascinating from his times growing up in Pittsburgh all the way to right now. He's a very dynamic and interesting person. So I want other people to find out about that as well. So,
sure.
So born in Ohio, correct?
Yeah, actually born in Shaker Heights, Ohio. Lived there and then moved to Pittsburgh for third grade.
Third grade. I was wondering when that was.
Third grade. And moved there. My dad had some business opportunities and enjoyed Pittsburgh. Of course, I was there for the Pirates and Steelers to win. So I'm not sure if it was me, but at least I was there.
The
Steel Curtain.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And then by chance, we ended up moving to Detroit, where my dad and uncle had a franchising business. Never been to Detroit before, and ended up going to high school together at Shrine High School. I remember my first day there, met Jimmy Batrinsky on the steps, and I don't know, it may have been you or maybe one of the older guys that coined me the Pittsburgh Kid. That was my...
I always knew you as a Pittsburgh Kid, so it wasn't me.
Yeah, okay, it wasn't me.
Yeah.
So somebody gave me the name the Pittsburgh Kid for high school, and here we are 35, 40 years later.
That's right.
It's still with me. So, so moved to Detroit and, had wonderful years there. Went to Michigan for a couple years and transferred to Florida A&M in Tallahassee and ended up in New York.
Yeah. So Lenny was a very good athlete. As a matter of fact, I don't know nowadays in high school if they have most likely to succeed or class clown, which I was in our graduating class. But Lenny was voted most athletic. He played three sports.
Three sports: football, basketball, baseball.
Okay.
Unfortunately, they used 8mm film back then, so there's not a lot of highlights to go to.
No, there wasn't.
Good.
VCRs were just starting back then.
Exactly. So probably good, because my memories of what I did probably well exceed what really happened. So what I tell my kids. But so
that's right. Your home runs were an extra 100 feet farther.
Exactly. It's a lot faster. Everything.
So you ended up coming to Detroit for your father's business opportunity, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, and he franchised. But before, and I need to mention this too, because Lenny comes from a very athletic family. His father was a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers, late 60s?
Early 60s.
Early 60s.
Forbes Field 60s.
Wow.
Yeah. Forbes Field 60s. Not championship 60s. So
Yeah, pre-Terry Bradshaw and all that.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and Burger King, correct?
Yes. Their business in Detroit, they franchised Burger Kings and Kentucky Fried Chickens. And so I was a popular kid in high school, I think, for the coupons. So that's what they did. They're in the franchise business. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Very good. So that's kind of the setup of where maybe you got the idea to get into the business world? You look at your dad as kind of an example for you?
Yeah, I mean, sort of funny story with that too. I mean, so I always knew that, well, my original plan, honestly, was to graduate from college and go work for, someone for a little bit, then come back and sort of take over the family business. I mean, because I always looked at it as the family business,
Okay.
So, my dad and uncle have a business, and I'm going to be heir to that. Me and my cousin.
And just out of curiosity, before you continue with that, did you ever work at the Burger Kings or the Kentucky Fried Chickens? You were there on weekends?
Oh, yeah.
When you weren't playing ball?
No, absolutely. I worked from my freshman year in high school through I think by the time I was done with my freshman year in college, I stopped. But I used to, did everything from having to clean the bathrooms and put together the broiler, fry the chicken. I could do all that kind of stuff. So I worked there throughout high school on the weekends and the summers. Made some good money. But he didn't pay me a lot more than everybody else.
No, minimum wage. And just so you guys know, we're kind of talking about the old times a little bit right now too while we're talking, but minimum wage back then was about $3.50 an hour.
I'm gonna tell you, it was $2.60 something. And my dad, I think, paid me $2.95. That was the nepotism, 30 cents more per hour. So worked there throughout the summers and stuff.
Okay, very good, very good. So that brought you to Michigan.
Yep.
And then you went on, and you mentioned that you went to Michigan and then Florida A&M, and at that point, that's where you met your first business partner, right?
Yep. So transferred to Florida A&M, which is a funny story in and of itself. I'd gone to Michigan and had applied to the B school, which you do after your sophomore year. I didn't get in. They said sort of wait.
B school being business school.
Business school.
Okay.
And wait, and we'll probably let you in for your junior year. Okay. Interesting, at Michigan, I got cut twice from the baseball team and didn't get into my first time trying out to get into the business school. And sort of jokingly told my dad that I was going to transfer to Florida A&M's business school. I did have a friend or two that went there, and really just talking stuff. And my dad asked me specifically, he went to the University of Oregon, and he said, why would you transfer from the University of Michigan to a black college? And I was like, I don't know. And so, but in my head, that wasn't happening. Later on in the summer, my mom said to me, hey, guess where you're going to school next year? And I said, I'm going back to Michigan, and she says, no, you're going to go to Florida A&M. I'm like, I'm not going to Florida A&M. There's no way I'm going to Florida A&M. I was just joking. He said, no, your dad did some research. As a matter of fact, he's a friend that teaches down there. They have a great business school. That's where you're going to go. So my dad said, hey, look, just go take a look. You don't have to go if you don't like it, but no harm in just seeing what it's about. So I said, but Dad, it's down south. It's like, it's country. Like, I've never been down south. I'm like, why? I can't go to school down there. He says, no. Tallahassee's the capital of Florida.
Okay.
You'll love it. And so we drive down from Albany, Georgia, where they had some businesses down there. And we're going to back roads. I mean, it is the country. And he's telling me how Tallahassee is a thriving metropolis. It's the capital of Florida, big city. And what I didn't really realize is Florida A&M, the A&M stands for Agricultural and Mechanical University. So we pull up to what is the front of the school, and the agricultural meant they had animals. So literally there were cows and horses in the field as you entered. And I'm like, and me and him look at each other, he starts laughing. I'm like, Dad, this is not going to happen. And so I went to, did the tour, did a great job. And on the flight home, he said, so what do you think? And I said, hey, Dad, I like the school. Look, it sounds good. But you know what? I'm just going to stay in Michigan. He said, well, okay. So, listen. You could you could transfer to Florida A&M, or stay at the University of Michigan, and you start paying for your education. Or you can go to Florida A&M, and I'll still pay. And I said, well, hey, you didn't raise a dummy. I guess I'm going to Florida.
I'm going to Florida.
Yeah. And it turned out to be the best move I ever made. Had a wonderful time. Met a lot of lifelong friends now. Expanded my. I think a lot of times we get comfortable with just being where we are.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think what I tell everybody, and particularly my kids now, hey, you got to try. Just try it. Like, see it. And you really may have an idea of what it is, and you may be right.
Yeah.
But more often than not, you're wrong. And nothing wrong with expanding and seeing.
Totally agree.
And then and every once in a while, it's like, oh my goodness, I do like it.
Yeah.
And that's what Florida A&M was for me.
So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to Lenny. Was originally we were going to talk about leadership too, but then you just happen to bring up stretching yourself and extending yourself, and so here you have this wonderful business, or these group of businesses that you've developed over time. Do you have something on the horizon, an interest that maybe is outside of what you're doing right now that you may want to tackle either now or down the road?
I think for me, the next. Well, I'm an entrepreneur,
yes.
At heart, which means I'm probably a terrible employee. But,
I don't think you've ever worked for anybody.
I did Baxter Healthcare for 3-4 years.
No reason to start now.
Right? Yeah. I don't know if anyone would hire me, but I like to have my hands in different things. I think one of the areas that I want to enter into is start doing film and content.
Okay.
I did, I was a producer on a show that was on BET last year that didn't get picked up again. It was called Queen Boss. It was a
Queen Boss. Yeah. Queen Boss. So is it on Netflix?
No. It was a Shark Tank. Yeah. It was a Shark Tank for women of color.
Oh,
yeah.
So, okay.
So, which I thought was a great show. They didn't pick it up, so too bad for them. But I do want to do more content, specifically film. If possible. That's something I'd like to get into.
Now, when you mean film, do you mean like you want to be the director or producer kind of thing?
More, I guess, would be an executive producer, where
right.
You find a project or come up with an idea, and see it to fruition, get the money, partner with someone that is, does have experience and the talent, and do that. So that's something I'd like to do.
That's awesome.
So
okay,
we'll see.
Good. So again, I wanted to talk to Lenny about leadership a little bit. You had an opportunity. Was it last year? You came back to Michigan.
Yes.
And Lenny gave his time to our old high school, Royal Oak Shrine. He spoke to a group of, was it young men or the entire school?
It was the entire school.
Okay.
They all didn't come, but it was nice. A nice crowd, yes.
Yeah, okay. And one of our other teammates and classmates asked him to come and talk to the class about, or the school about leadership. So I was not privy to that. Could you give me maybe 2 or 3 points out of that presentation that you talked to them about? Because I'm sure it has to do with how you go about being a leader every day to the people that work for you.
Sure. I mean, I went through several different points, but I'll get to I think some of the main ones. The first, I think, is always aspire for excellence, right? In whatever you do. And so sometimes we say we want to be the best of a certain group, but really you want to aspire to be the best ever, right? And you may fall short, but in doing so, I think you just push yourself, but by doing that, you need to be well read in whatever your desired area of expertise is. Really network and meet people, and find a mentor, someone to help you and help you shepherd through some of the things you're trying to do. But really, I think for folks is really don't be closed-minded to that and aspire from to be the best. The other thing that I spoke about was the idea of really being positive, right? I think one of the things I spoke about and it's funny how I've lived throughout the country in different parts. I've had friends from all over the country, went to 2 different colleges, different grade schools and high schools. But it was interesting speaking at Shrine how there's so many things that really happened in high school that stick with you for life. And one of them, and one of the people that I always look back on who was very motivational in various ways, and a leader for us was our coach McDougall, and he used to say this.
He was the and just so you guys know out there, that was Lenny's football coach.
Yeah.
And he was just inducted into the Shrine High School Hall of Fame. So that's who he's talking about. So sorry to interrupt, but just want to make sure.
And he talked about he used his words, these letters, PMA. Having a positive mental attitude. That's right. I mean, they beat that into us all the time, and it really means a lot, right? And I think no matter what is happening, I really try hard to maintain that, right? And think of the bright side, right? And when you're focused on and have a positive attitude, even when things are bad, I think if you're focused on the positive, you'll see things and opportunities to fix the bad, right?
Yep.
And also, as an entrepreneur, you understand how to take the good with the bad, and really, and what I always say to people, enjoy the journey. That's what I've really learned. You never get too high on the highs, and don't get too low on the lows. And so where I'm at in life now, which I think people think I'm crazy sometimes, even when something's really bad, right? And so as opposed to dwelling in how bad it is, in my head I'm thinking like, yo man, it's gonna be crazy to see how I get out of this one. I know it's gonna turn out okay. But it's going to be interesting to see how that happens. And so I don't let the negativity get in the way of that, and really enjoying the journey. I think if you talk to a lot of people that are uber successful, they'll refer to some of their best times back when they were struggling or figuring it out, and those were things. So I've learned to really appreciate the journey and doing that. So that's what's one of the things that I really
that's really good.
And I spoke to the kids about that. And then the last thing, and there's probably several other things, but the last thing I always tell people, and part of enjoying the journey and having the ability to do that, is having faith, right? And whatever it is that you believe in, whether it's God or you don't believe it, but you believe in the power of what you can't see, right? And it's faith that'll make you let you know it's going to be okay, right? And so I've always had faith that it's going to be fine, right? And which allows me to stretch. Really, because because if you don't have faith that it's going to be okay, it's easy to pack up shop and say, "Oh, let me go back to something that's more sure and comfortable." But having faith has allowed me to just keep pushing and stretching, and knock on wood, and thank God, it always ends up being okay. And
what a guy! What a guy! It's great. We in our little pre-talk before we got on camera, I told him I said, it doesn't matter how many years it is that go by. As soon as we get together, it's like all those years melt away. And and then I remember, what a wonderful quality person that Lenny is. So 2 things that he mentioned, not to hijack the interview, but I just want to make sure that I reiterate 2 things that you said there. One is enjoy the journey, and the other thing is, and I have learned this, especially now that I'm delving into new things, is the idea of networking. And, I've had a chance to meet some, pretty high-level people here over the last couple of years. And one of the first things that they always say when I tell them I'm getting into speaking and authoring, which we'll get to here in a little bit, is networking. And you got to get out, you got to shake hands, you got to meet people in the area that you're interested in, and that will open doors for you, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, that's, look, I can't tell you how often, how many times where, when you least expect it, really, that you'll meet somebody just at an event or by chance, that, can change your life, right? And so I think, again, the idea of, pushing yourself, But really, if whatever desired field you're in, to make sure you're meeting people and networking where they play, right? Not only work but play, and don't be afraid to let people know what it is you're trying to do. As an entrepreneur, I know a lot of people feel sometimes they want to hold things close to the vest, right? And that they don't want to tell people their idea and things like that. And I can respect that, but I've always taken it had a different approach. I mean, yes, someone can steal your idea. I mean, that happens, but more often than not, it's your idea. You're the most passionate about it, and no harm in telling people what your goals are and what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And I believe more often than not, you'll find people that say, "Hey, I'll help you, or I can help you, or I know who can help you." And so don't be afraid to tell people what your goals and aspirations are, and you'll be happy to find out how many people will really be willing to help.
Wow, good stuff. So we have both ventured out into the world of writing, and I wanted to feature both our books here a little bit. So Lenny's book we'll talk about here in a second, and you guys out there who watch me consistently probably are sick of hearing me talk about my book.
Go buy it.
That's right. This is Len's copy right here, Lenny's copy. But anyway, you now this was what, 2010 when you wrote your book?
I think 2010. Yeah.
Yep.
And again, just how this came about. So one of the magazines.
Let's take a look at it. Okay, and it's called
Black is the New Green, Marketing to Affluent African Americans. And so, Uptown Magazine.
Uptown Magazine. That's right. We didn't bring a copy of Vibe though.
Well, there aren't any more copies of Vibe.
Well,
Vibe
maybe is there a digital?
It's online. Just
yes.
online.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Very good.
Yep.
And anybody who I've talked to, I said I was coming out. They go Vibe. Wow, I know Vibe. Wow, you know that guy?
So those were good times. But I started Uptown 14 years ago about this time.
Hold this here.
And Uptown is a magazine that focuses on and speaks to affluent African Americans from a lifestyle perspective. And a dear friend of mine, Andrea Hoffman, called me up one day and said, "Hey, would you like to write a book?" And I said, "Well, hey, I would like to write a book, but that's not really my thing. Writing. Right. I can sell ad pages and put a magazine together, but I'm not necessarily a writer." And he said, "Well, let me see, what I can find out." And I said, "Sure." And so about a week later, she called me back and said, "I got you a book deal." And I said, "What?" She said, "Yeah, we're going to write a book. We have to figure out what we're going to talk about, and I'll co-author it with you." And so we came with the idea of writing a book about how to market to affluent African Americans. I believe very much that the new general market is really built on a bunch of niches, right? That's what you see that happens. And so television, you can imagine, went from 3 stations to I think 5 to now 500 stations, right. With cable. Right. And so really, there's a lane for everybody, and the good marketers really focus on the niches, right? As opposed to trying to cut reach everybody with one broad stroke. And so we focused on how to market and speak to this market, which is a $13 billion industry or group with spending power that a lot of companies don't speak to or don't know how to speak to. And so we put that together, and so we did a book, and so it was fun writing, and stretched ourselves again. And
well, that's what anytime, because I can't tell you how many people that I come across when I say, "Oh, by the way, I wrote a book," and I don't do that, per se. Amazon and Barnes and Noble, if you want to pick it up online. But it does. I can't tell you how many people have said, I've always wanted to write a book. But by golly, you actually sat down and you took the time and you did it. And it takes a lot of sacrifice, a lot of time, a lot of love from your loved ones from home who know, that you're trying to do this. And it's incredibly satisfying once you finally get it out. But going back to what you were saying about niches, we're I haven't really sat down and talked to Lenny in about a year, but we are like lockstep with so many of these things. The niche is where it's going. It's finding that specific thing. And you found that probably a little bit ahead of the game too, right?
Yeah. Which has probably been our problem half the time. We're always a little bit ahead of where everybody else is at.
You're a trend. That's called a trend.
Yeah, exactly. So we found that. I think that the hole in the donut, I'll call it, where no one else was focused on, and so we with Uptown we found that, and we made it more than just a media property, but really a brand. And that connotates a lifestyle. So when we say Uptown Magazine or Uptown Events or whatever, or Uptown Online, consumers really get what that means, an Uptown thing. So
I agree. First it was vibe, right? And people became familiar with that, and then as Uptown has grown and extended, people, as I go around and I talk about you. They're familiar with Uptown as well. So you're doing something right, Lenny.
We're trying. So it's been a lot of fun.
Well, good. Okay, so I'm going to ask you, and this is not as popular as it used to be, but there's at the end of talk shows, they have these 5 questions that they ask somebody kind of randomly just to kind of get a response out of you. So I am going to ask Lenny, or at least give him five statements or 5 words, and just to kind of get your first response out of it. Okay. One of them I've been waiting all day because I found out something about him last night that I want to see if he recalls. So anyway, the first one is, what do you think of when you think of New York City?
New York City. I think of New York City, from my perspective, it's such a small city. Right, I mean it's a great place to. Am I supposed to get 1-word answer? Is that supposed to happen?
Just go.
Can't put New York in 1 word. But I think when you say New York City, I remember when I first moved here, and I thought it was just so big, and I really had no intention of really living here. Right, I mean, it was like, as a matter of fact, when I got the job out of college with Baxter, they said there's a 99.9% chance I'll be in Philly. Which is, to me, just
and
like
it's
Detroit.
Not that far from
you.
Great,
yeah. And then I got to Detroit to pick up my stuff, and the guy said, "Remember that 0.1%? How would you like New York?" I'm like, okay,
yeah.
But never thought I'd really live here, and it seems so big. But fast forward, it is such a small city. Right, and in a good way, right? I mean, and so
it's not a small town. It doesn't have a small town feel.
No, it's not a small town, but it is. It's very connected. Unlike any other city, because you're walking.
There is no. I haven't had a chance. Have you been to Tokyo before?
No, I've not been to Tokyo.
Okay, all right. Any other? No, I haven't been to Tokyo either. I was going to ask you if Tokyo was kind of like New York City.
Well, I haven't been to Tokyo, but I tell you, there's nothing like New York City. I mean, and it because of the like I said, it's connected, but the diversity.
No question.
Of the city, right?
And that hits you as soon as. It doesn't matter where you're at in New York City. That's what hits you. And I think in the mingling of everybody, races, class, it's like look, there could be the person with a hourly wage job on the subway with the guy that's making multi-million dollars down on Wall Street taking the subway, and they're all right there together, and. But the city is also very inspirational in that regard, right? I think, and again, unlike any other cities, I think there's a commonality of there's the fraternity of New York City, right? If you're here, you're here and you're struggling and you're figuring out your way to make it. And I think that whether you're successful, speaking to someone that's starting out, you appreciate the guy that's starting out, and you want to help him. Right, pull people up. That's part of being a leader.
And so there's that appreciation of that. Unlike a lot of cities where it's very segregated in that regard. Like you can come in once you've made it, right?
Right.
But in New York, it's a different feeling where everybody sort of, hey, we're all here together, and there's one island trying to make it happen.
Yeah.
So
and that's true. And I've had experience with other business owners that do their business here in Manhattan and in the boroughs of New York City, and just to play on what you were talking about, almost to a person they say, well, you don't understand New York. You're not from New York kind of thing, you know, because there's a New York way of doing things, and that's true, and you just kind of reiterated that. But you put it in a more fraternal way, which is really, I've never looked at it like that before.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Good. All right, so New York City, how about growing up?
Just always fond memories, you know.
Is there any? And I asked you that because I wonder if, when you think about growing up, if your memories go back to Pittsburgh, if they go to Michigan, where does it go to first?
Well, in sports, always the Steelers, always the Pirates. Detroit too sometimes, but it's been a minute.
Sometimes,
it's been
right?
a minute. It's been a minute.
Especially with the Lions.
Yeah. But and the Steelers, oh my gosh, I don't know when this will air, but I'm still not watching Sports Center after the loss to the Jaguars. But when people ask me where I'm from, I say Detroit.
Okay.
That's where I'm from.
Okay.
And just really fond memories. I mean, Pittsburgh was, I think, where I got a lot of the, just the foundation of what I am.
Yeah.
But Detroit is where I grew up and learned a lot, right? And have lifelong friends and roots and, like I said, fond memories. And I'm always proud to say, because people that haven't been to Detroit, they have a perception of what Detroit is, right? And it's wrong.
It is wrong.
It is wrong.
And I think we're both here to tell you that. And Lenny hasn't, lived in Detroit for quite a while, but I can say with all of the downtown development that's happening, I don't know when was the last time you were there. Year before last, but there is. So people, people think of one or two things when they think of Detroit, but especially in the next few years, it will definitely have a different. The idea of what Detroit is will definitely be different to people who live outside of it.
Correct. Yeah. And I think the other thing that's very interesting about Detroit, because there are a lot of, when I'm traveling, particularly here in New York, there are a lot of Detroiters, and what you'll hear other people that aren't from Detroit that see somehow when we all get together, they always say, "Hey, you Detroit guys." And you always find each other, and you're special. And Detroit is a place where I think look, there's just a lot of talent that's come from Detroit, a lot of talent that's still in Detroit, and I think we were all well groomed just by whether it's the schools we went to, the friends we had, the experiences of just being in that city that have set us up well for success wherever you go. And so Detroit is home.
So since you were a three-sport star, what's your favorite sport?
So I always still get a sort of a chill or goosebumps in spring.
How can you not
with baseball?
How can you not?
For me, I smell baseball season to this day.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Look, I love playing football. Loved basketball, but baseball was my favorite. It sort of was probably that was my best sport.
Yeah.
For basketball, I was the good defensive player, which means shoot.
He was a good defensive player.
Strauss was one of the shooters. He never saw a shot he didn't like. For sure. I was the guy the coach yelled, "Don't shoot, don't shoot, don't shoot." And if it went in, he says, "It's a good shot," but that didn't happen too often. But baseball is my favorite sport.
Baseball, and as you guys out there watch it is for me too. Yeah. No question about it. Yeah. So. All right, so a surprise question for you. Okay. Favorite food?
Favorite food?
Now, I saw this online last night, so you're going to upset somebody if you don't give the right answer.
I think one of the things is my mom's mac and cheese.
Yes.
I'm considering my mom's mac and cheese, as a matter of fact, I got my own little recipe. I've added on to that, but my mom's mac and cheese was always a go-to favorite, home-cooked meal for me.
Yeah.
To this
so,
day.
What is it? Is there something unique about it, or is it just the home kind of the comfort food kind of thing?
It's the comfort food. The way she makes it, there's just the right amount. I like it cheesy. She makes it the right amount of cheese. And you melt the cheese, then you sprinkle some cheese on top of it, and the right seasoning. Okay. That's my.
So you have, and two things, and again, because we'll edit this, I just want to go back a little bit to what you were saying about the city being so small.
Yeah.
In my mind, and I always, one of my problems as a one of my weaknesses, I guess, is I always make things out bigger in my mind than they actually are. So as I'm looking on my phone yesterday to try to figure out 37th Street, 38th Street, 39th Street, and all that stuff, in my mind I'm thinking, God, these are like city blocks. They're going to go on forever. It's going to take me 20 minutes to go 3 blocks. But the blocks are not that long.
No.
And it really is.
Yeah.
It really is small.
Yeah, it's oh gosh, I hope I'm getting this right. So it's like 13 miles, from top to bottom, and a lot compacted in that one area. It's easy to navigate once you get it.
Yeah.
For those of you who think the subway is the best way to get around, to be honest,
it's the cheapest,
and it's certainly the cheapest.
It is the cheapest.
Yeah. Although they keep raising the price every year. So.
Well, you know what? You take an Uber from LaGuardia to Midtown. That's $35-$40. If you take the mass transit, the subway in particular, it was $2.75.
Yeah.
So that's anybody can afford that.
Right.
So,
but it's easy to navigate once you just sort of understand how the blocks are set up and
right. Agreed.
So
okay. So back to what I was going to say. You have in this wonderful island of Manhattan. A million different kind of restaurants. You got all different nationalities, all different cultures, which makes it a really exciting and neat place to live. So if you had to choose any meal in the world outside of Mom's Mac and Cheese, I'll say restaurant. What restaurant is your go-to restaurant?
Well, I mean, to your point, there's so many, right?
There are.
It really
4 different kinds on one block.
Yeah, it really
amazing.
is what you're in the mood for. You know?
Yeah.
So for a steak restaurant, Del Frisco's. Right.
It's I know some Del Frisco's folks. They'll be happy to hear you say that.
You got to go to Del Frisco's. Yeah, a burger spot. Now they're all around the country. Shake Shack. The one you may not know, I'm gonna tell you. There's 2 places: Billy's Burgers and this other one called Black Tap. Great burgers. Chicken. Chicken. There's a place in Harlem called Charles Fried Chicken. Little hole in the wall. Best fried chicken, bar none. We're gonna in the city.
Yeah, we'll get some advertising dollars out of Charles Chicken.
Yeah. So, So it really depends what you're in the mood.
Okay.
To your point, like you can get anything at any time.
I was going to say any time, really, because most places are open. There are some that are open 24 hours, but from breakfast to probably 1 a.m., 2 a.m., you can get anything you want at any time.
Mm-hmm. And there's a bunch of, I'm a diners guy too. There's a bunch of good diners.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Nothing like a greasy spoon spot.
All right.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. Very good. All right. So, do you've got to have some websites, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, the one that we're focused on all the time, obviously uptownmagazine.com. That's for the magazine. So that's where it all happens. I'm also working with a good buddy of mine, Joseph Anthony. You're going to hear about him one day soon. Bright guy. I'm working with him to launch an app called Hero Traveler.
Okay. Which
is an app, if you can imagine, an Instagram for lovers of travel. So that's we're real excited about that. It's coming out probably later on this quarter. So something that we're working on. So just those are 2 things that for now. But
So what do you like to do when you're not Len Burnett from Uptown Entertainment and you want to be Lenny and you just, it's Sunday afternoon or whatever?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Well, I mean, what I love doing is spending time with my kids.
Yep.
That's the priority and what I really enjoy. My son, Lenny the third. And my daughter Ronnie, love of my life. So enjoy just spending time with them. Lenny's 14, my daughter's 12. And it goes by fast.
It happens fast.
Yes,
definitely happens.
So
fast.
Again, enjoying, breathing all that in, enjoying that journey with them, watching them grow and mature. For real leisure, enjoy going to the movies. I'm a movie guy, and then
that doesn't surprise me given the business.
But I really enjoy it, especially when I see a lot of the independent movies. And then I like to play golf. Most of the time.
Is there enough room on the island? Because I don't know this. Is there a golf course on Manhattan?
Actually, there's not a golf course on Manhattan, but the first public golf course in the country is right up the road here called Van Cortlandt Park.
Interesting. Okay.
And so that's a golf course I sort of learned to play at, public course. But
Yeah, I've never seen you swing a golf club.
Yeah,
so
yeah, you know.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, like I'm about a 16, you know, working
well,
at
still,
it. You know,
yeah,
you know. But no, I mean, I enjoy playing the sport. Again, it's one of those sports that's interesting. You're always playing against yourself, even if
That's
you're playing against who you're playing against. But in your head, you're trying to beat your best score you ever
You're trying
had.
to be the best that you can be.
Yeah. So I enjoy that. So that's what I like to do, sort of my spare time.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So you live on Manhattan?
Yeah, I live in Harlem.
Okay.
You know, about
Okay.
10 blocks from here.
Mm-hmm.
I've moved back to the city in '93 and I've been in Harlem ever since, and watched Harlem sort of grow and
It's not.
transform.
I mean, I can't. This is actually my first time that I've been to Harlem, so I can't speak to what it was like before. But I always hear good things about Harlem.
But it's been it's grown. Manhattan's an island, and going back 20 years ago, certainly 25 years ago, Harlem, there are a lot of boarded up homes, not a lot of businesses up here. But when I bought a home up here, what dawned on me is that Manhattan is an island, and there's no place to grow. And you read the numbers, people are still coming in the city. And so sooner or later, they were coming to Harlem. And really over the last 10 years, that's what's happened. And not only people, but restaurants and businesses. I used to have to take my cleaning downtown to go get dry cleaning.
So you didn't spend the money for transportation.
Well, I mean, I'd work down there, so it was I guess somewhat convenient, but a little inconvenient not to be able to drop your laundry or cleaning off here in Harlem. But now there's not the case anymore. Great restaurants. There's always Sylvia's, which is still good, and soul food places. But now there's Indian, Italian, great Italian restaurants. There's all sorts of stuff up here. So Whole Foods is up here now. So it's a growing area of the city, and probably one of the more popular, by short of the Statue of Liberty, one of the most popular places to come visit for tourists.
Wow.
So
All right. So I had one really good last kind of fireball question there, and it slipped my mind as we were talking there. But shoot. Well, anyway. So that's going to wrap it up. We are, it's just been great just to sit here and talk and catch up, and I'm sure we'll be talking a little bit more, about the old times here as we wrap this up. But again, Black is the New Green from Len Burnett. Inspired how our differences are changing the workplace by yours truly. DrazTalks.com is the website, and this has been great, and this is not the last interview I'll be doing. We've got another one set up to do in a couple of weeks, but in the meantime,
thanks,
so
man.
good to see you, man.
Thanks, good seeing you too, man.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud of what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm having a blast doing it too. The journey has been great, like you said earlier. It really has been. So, okay. So take care. Bye for now. Now let's do that. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it stops sometimes. So. Okay. So yeah. So I brought all these little gadgets.
Nice.
So we had a splitter, so we were able to use one camera. And you asked something about it earlier about from a camera perspective. Do you know that for people who are in the business, say the iPhones actually are better cameras than say some of the smaller, like
Yeah.
cameras.
Oh yeah. I believe that.
Yeah.